Welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Jake Gordon. Georgia, Florida.
And Alex.
And Alex Lord, sorry. Forgot, you're not in
You
jail.
did that last segment too. You just said Alex, and then you didn't say my name.
Well,
Come on, man.
I got it on, I split you guys up. Like, I don't know what else to say.
That's fair.
Can't give us too much attention.
Anyways, Georgia, Florida, big game. Is there any way, and we kind of talked about it briefly, but Jake, you're here. You're the resident Georgia faithful. You know a lot more about the Georgia Bulldogs and how they should be feeling going into this matchup. Is there any way Florida keeps this one close? Obviously, the spread only 14 points, a little bit surprising. No Brock Bowers though. First game without him. Is there adjustment period with Carson Beck and not having his safety blanket, his best player and arguably the best player in all of college football? How do you see this game playing out? Can Graham Mertz create some problems for Georgia's defense, which has struggled at times? What do you see?
Yeah. First of all, I'm not worried about Carson Beck. This is going to be like a hometown game for him, but we know the stadium. That stadium is split right down the middle, red and blue. One half on one side, one half on the other. I'm going to go ahead and say I don't think I'm worried about this game, but I do think it'll be a close game. Like, I don't have a feeling like we're going to lose, but I don't think we're just going to come out and trounce Florida. I would probably take Florida spread, 2 touchdowns if you made me. It might be a backdoor situation. I feel like this is maybe like a 10-point game, 31-21, something like that. Florida has not been that bad this year. They were predicted to win like 5.5 games. I always thought that was way too low. I was all over them beating Tennessee before the season started. And yeah, they've struggled at times. They look really bad against Utah, look really bad against Kentucky. But Graham Mertz has not been that bad this year. He's been a decent passer. But Georgia's still Georgia. And this is kind of when the meat of their schedule kicks off. And you got to wonder if this is really going to wake them up a little bit in terms of like, hey, we got some big games ahead of us. It's time to play some real primetime football, because they've looked sleepy at times because they haven't played anybody. And that's not their fault. They were supposed to play Oklahoma the second week of the season in Norman. That's a big time game. That's when you get up for. And then that turned into Ball State at home. And, it's easy to fall asleep with that type of stuff when you won 2 championships in a row. But, I love the moniker. These two teams don't like each other, man. They don't like each other. So
the thing about
I think Georgia will come. I think Florida will come out and be very competitive early, and I think Georgia will pull away at the end.
Think about that Oklahoma Georgia potential matchup. Maybe you see that in the college football playoff, but that's not something that when I, at looking at it beginning of the year, I was like, oh, Georgia would have beat them by 30 points. Maybe that game would have been closer than we originally had anticipated, especially going on the road.
I think we would have handled. Yeah, I think we would have handled Oklahoma. They beat Texas, but I've watched them. I've watched a lot of Oklahoma this year because I bet on them a lot because they were very successful against the spread. They were not very impressive for most of the season. That Texas win was very impressive. But I'm still not a big believer in Oklahoma. They'll probably make the playoffs. Look at their schedule. They don't play anybody. They got like Kansas State left, and that's about it. They got Bedlam in like 2 weeks.
I don't think they play Kansas State, or they would have lost to Kansas State. I would have called that.
Back to Georgia. I am actually very confident. Last time I was this confident was Auburn, and we see how that worked out. Auburn came out, gave Georgia their best game, and it was a close one. If it wasn't for Brock Bowers, Georgia could potentially lose that one. I feel very confident in this, though. Georgia's just a better team. And you know who's played in this game more than anybody who's going to be in Jacksonville? Kirby Smart. Kirby Smart knows how important this game is. Kirby Smart's going to get his boys ready. Kirby Smart knows that Kentucky game was the best all-around performance his team's had. And last week, that was, an ugly performance. You just want to kind of get out of there before the game was even over type of game. There's going to be a different feel around that Georgia locker room this week. It's going to be different. Last week, a little sleepy, I don't want to go up there. They stink. This is different. Jacksonville is different. Kirby Smart knows how important this game is, how tough this game is. Every year, it doesn't matter about records. It doesn't matter about rankings, projections, talent, nothing. Everything goes out the window with this one. Kirby Smart knows. Kirby Smart knows better than anybody. Billy Napier's just new.
He's from Bainbridge. Bainbridge may as well be Florida.
Listen. Kirby Smart knows. Kirby Smart's going to get the boys ready. I'm all over Georgia. Georgia spread. I think they run them out the room. I think that all the, Brock Bowers is the whole offense thing put to bed immediately. Beck has been very good. Bobo's been very good for as of recently. I'm not worried one bit. I've seen enough Florida to just know I don't trust that team.
Yeah, I think Florida gives them a run for their money here. I definitely would take the Florida spread. And I hate Billy Napier. Trust me. I don't think he's the guy. I just haven't been that impressed, and I'm definitely not going to put my money on Georgia. The only game they've really looked good is Kentucky. They've really struggled, and I think this is a game that Florida is going to be up for as much as they could possibly be. I think the energy from the Florida fans, I know it is split 50-50 down the middle, but it'll kind of feel like a road game for the offense because, those guys are going to be loud. I think this is the most hyped Florida's been in quite some time. I mean, this isn't a good Florida team, but there's something to play for here. And I think in a hated rivalry like this, where they haven't really been competitive over the last 2 seasons, I think it's going to be quite the atmosphere there. I think Carson Beck maybe takes an adjustment period. I do think he makes the plays down the stretch to get Georgia the win, but I think they give him a run for their money. I think it's going to be very similar to kind of like the Auburn game, 27-20. Maybe they win by 10. That's just kind of what I see.
I don't.
Yeah, no, I think it'll. I can see Florida going up like 10-0 or something, and once again everybody kind of panicking over that. But this is you brought up Brock Bowers. We talked about this earlier in the week. I'm not concerned about not having Brock Bowers. I understand he's the best player in college football, but it's not at the quarterback position, and he is immensely talented. But the fact of the matter is that Georgia's very deep. Like pass catcher might be the position they're deepest at, which is crazy considering how many defensive players they put in the NFL. Ladd McConkey's getting healthier. They brought in Dominic Loving and Ra Thomas from the portal. They got 2 other 4 or 5-star tight ends behind him, and those guys aren't Brock Bowers. But you talk about the sum of the parts. I think they'll be okay. I do think they win. This is probably a game I'm not going to enjoy watching, but I do think they come away with a win.
I mean, listen, the last time I was this confident, they came into a buzzsaw in Jordan Hare. Jordan Hare's spooky. I did warn against that. I didn't take my own advice, apparently. I feel very confident about this. I just think that Georgia has the talent. Like, all of this noise, like, would you be more very confident if you had Brock Bowers, Jake? Or maybe let me answer for Georgia fans. Do you think that Georgia fans would be much more confident with Brock Bowers?
No, I think you're still going to play the same type of game. I'd still think it's going to be the same type of game regardless.
See, I would think that Georgia fans would be like, "Oh yeah, if we had Brock Bowers, wouldn't even be close." And the point I was trying to make,
I don't make excuses for injuries. I know a lot of people like to do that, but at the end of the day,
this has more to do.
You got to line up and beat them.
I think this has more to do with who Georgia's been this season and how they played most weeks and how Florida's a little bit better than people expected. This being a rivalry game, I just think it's closer. Like, I don't think it has. I do think Brock Bowers definitely has an impact, but I think in general, it's just more about how Georgia has played this year and how they've won this year. And it doesn't matter if you're winning games. Like, I know everyone wants to blow everyone out, but if you keep winning, it doesn't matter. And I think they're going to win, but I don't think it's going to be the prettiest one. Coming up after the break, we're going to get into our best bets. Next 2 segments, we're going to give you some locks.